What's up, everybody? Thank you for checking out this Mother's Day episode of Chewin' the Rag. Before we begin, a couple quick shout outs. First and foremost, Serenity Landscaping Services and Property Management. Had to add that little tidbit on there. I always forget that, Serenity Landscaping and those guys over there, they're not just landscapers. They manage properties. I've seen them do a lot of anything from mowing a lawn to laying down hardwood. So I feel like I should do better with promoting the other side of that. But with that being said, you do have landscaping needs. That is their forte. That is their bread and butter. So what you're going to want to do is give them a call at 518-331-0774 and let them know that Chris from Chewin' the Rag sent you. Again, that's Serenity Landscaping Services and Property Management. And you're going to want to give them a call at 518-331-0774 for all of your landscaping needs. And then up next, another shout out to Rite. Rite deals with water and plumbing and drainage and everything in between. Really good, honest, hardworking business. Family owned, family operated. I can't say enough good things about either one of these guys. They help me out a lot. And if you have any needs, plumbing, landscaping, whatever it might be, I'm sure they could help you as well. For Rite, what you're going to want to do, same thing. Just give them a call, 518-649-0921, and let them know that Chris from Chewin' the Rag sent you. Again, that's 518-649-0921. Get it right with Rite. While you guys are here, be sure to like, rate, subscribe, follow on all your platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, any platform. Go to ChewinTheRag.com for all the available platforms. Check us out on TikTok, ChewinTheRagPod. Trying to grow that, trying to go live. If you've listened, you know that I've been harping on it. It's growing. It is working. So I do appreciate anybody that does go and check that out. It's mostly podcast clips, but I do post like old stand-up clips and just random things in between. Gaming clips from Pinchworm Gaming, which is the streaming channel on YouTube. That's Pinchworm Gaming. If you notice, I don't know how often you guys actually pay attention, but Call of Duty actually made me change the name Pinchworm. So if something happens and you hear me promote another gaming channel, it's just because apparently that name's offensive, which I don't understand. It's literally the bad guy from the Ronald McDonald's old like VHS cartoons. There's Ronald McDonald's birthday. The bad professor's name was like Dr. Pinchworm or something, and that's where I got it from, literally. So it has nothing to do with what people might think of when they think of Pinchworm. So ChewinTheRag.com has all the links. If you do like the podcast, make sure you rate, share, try to help me grow this thing so that when we do get people on here, help grow whatever it is that they're promoting. And again, thank you for checking everything out. If you haven't, follow us on Facebook. Just like the page, Chewin' the Rag. Instagram is at ChewinTheRagPod. Twitter's ChewinTheRagPod. It's just my personal Twitter. Like I said, I don't really use Twitter for the podcast. I tried that before and it didn't really do anything. So it's just my personal Twitter, but I do post on there regarding the podcast a little bit. It's mostly for sports, being completely honest. YouTube, ChewinTheRag.com, all the links. Thank you guys. What's up, everybody? It is May 10th, which means it is Mother's Day, pretty much. It's always better, I feel like, to say like Happy Mother's Day or Happy Birthday a few days early. If you have to. I feel like being early is definitely better than being late. So happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there, and happy Mother's Day to all you fellows with moms out there and everything else. So as you can tell, I'm by myself again. I have guests lined up, just not this week. So I do want to tease a few. I got a couple fun ones coming up. So Serenova Comics, local comic book store, who also has two guys working on their own comic book that I'll talk about a little bit with them and go from there. I'm not really a comic book guy. I never have been. I've never been into them. I read an issue of Mittens that they have, which if you're interested in stuff like that, just reach out to me and I'll send you the link to it, honestly. They gave it away for free for comic book day, I think it's called. And I was like, ah, whatever. I'll take a gander at it, see what it's all about. It kind of had a wow, the name Star Fox, kind of like a Star Fox feel to it. It was really fun, and so I was put onto them by a mutual friend, and I reached out and I said, hey, if you guys want to hop on, and they said yeah, and we have a date and everything locked in, but they're coming up. I'm looking forward to that. The reason I purposely bring that up is because if you guys are into comic books or anything, send me a DM on whatever social or email me at ChewinTheRagPodcast at gmail.com. And I'll get that link over so you guys could take a small read. It took me a few minutes to get through it, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to talking to them and seeing what they're working on and kind of getting into that world a little bit because I don't know dick about it, to be honest. Just like when JD was on here and he's talking toy collections and everything else, I know nothing on it. So it's always interesting to get just a feel for different hobbies and hobbyists and everything else. Also, I plan on having John Dorn from Intrusive and Concrete. Concrete's wrapping up their album. I think Intrusive records soon. I could be wrong on that. I hope I'm not. So he'll be on soon. And then just a bunch of things in between there. That Minutes with Mello. Minutes with Mello will be back this month. We got a good one planned. I've been talking to him to get the day down. It might even be as early as next week. I'm hoping it is. So just bear with me. Update on the basement. I got bent pipes. So don't know what the fuck that means. I'm not a plumber. City has to come out and work on that. And I'm at a standstill until then. So between work, that, and everything else, getting on the same page as these people is not easy. So you got to bear with me, and we'll get right back on schedule soon. It's either go solo or skip, and I'd rather just go solo. And especially now, it's Mother's Day. I have a topic kind of just built right in. I'll tell stories about, me and my brothers and everything else. So it'll be a lot of fun, I think. I hope. We'll see in about 10 minutes where this goes. So yeah, it's always funny, right? Because I'm just so, I said this last week with RJ, like I'm just like goofy. I love having fun and just busting balls. I'm just that type of guy. And when people first meet me, coworkers especially, they'll be like, "Oh, you must have been an only child. You must have been an only child. Like all this attention, you love attention." It's like a couple things. I don't love attention. That's not what this is at all. I'm just busting your balls. Like it's not because I want attention. If anything, get the fuck away from me, and I'll stop busting your balls. If you're not in my vicinity, I can't bust your balls. Go somewhere. But I grew up. I'm actually the oldest of two boys in the household, so it's myself and two brothers. And I've said this before. I was kind of condensed to like one part of the house. I didn't really have like a living room. I didn't really have a common area. It was just me, my brothers, and we had like the bedroom and like the back of the house was for us. Like kids, just get the fuck away from us. We're doing adult things, whatever the fuck that is. So we really only had that and the streets pretty much is what I relied on. I was never home, and if I was just kind of trapped in a back area with two other boys. So my one brother is about my age, 2 years apart or some shit like that. My other brother's 6 years apart. So the whole thing with us was how do we make the most of not much? I said this with Dark Horse 6 with Chris McKay. I didn't have like the latest video game system when they came out. I didn't have online gaming like everybody else did. We had a Nintendo 64. We had split screen shit and shit like that, but you kind of get bored with just that, right? So growing up, we would do things like we'd have almost like, improv or whose line is it anyway? We had this stupid fucking game called Make Each Other Laugh. So literally, one of us would go up and we'd try to make the next person laugh. And the goal was to not laugh because you didn't want to go up because it's fucking embarrassing, right? As somebody who did stand up, being a fucking like spectacle in front of people, if you're bombing sucks. So you don't want to do that. You want to kind of make your brother feel like he sucks. You don't want to laugh. So the goal is to not laugh. And if you do laugh, now you got to get up there, bitch. And I'm not going to laugh at you. So that was always a lot of fun for us. And that's kind of where I got introduced to like being funny between that and the other part of things. Like I said, just being on the street. I was, Mark said this, he could back me up. I was like one of the only fucking white dudes that I, in my group, you know, I always hung around. I was an easy target. I'm a fucking, back then I was a scrawny white boy with glasses. Like you're going to get ripped apart. So you got to be funny. You got to be witty. Um, and so I just always loved that aspect of everything, just making people laugh, having that comeback ready to go. And I'm bringing that up because it all started with just being the oldest of two boys. We would do stupid shit all the time. My parents were definitely around. They're around a little too much. You know, they weren't known for having a 9 to 5. They were for sure around, but they weren't sorry about that. They weren't like this super hands on. They weren't a hands on parenting, you know what I mean? People always say like, "Oh, privilege, two-person household, mom and dad." I didn't really have that like mom and dad. I'll come confide in you. I actually, the person that I did that with the most was my grandmother, probably because she was like that hardworking. She worked on a railroad, fucking really hardworking, hard labor. If you want something, go get it. Work hard mentality. She instilled that in me more than anybody. So if I had to like confide in somebody, it was her. 'Cause my parents, they would tell you to work hard, but it was, oh, you got to support us. You better, we brought you life. You got to support us. Go get fucking rich and famous and make a lot of money and take care of your mom and dad. Like that was their, and obviously it's said with a joking tone, but like that was their definition of like telling you to go work hard, you know? Whereas my grandmother's like, go bust your ass, start a family. Like she wanted you to work hard for the right reasons. And it was just a weird upbringing having that dynamic. So like Mother's Day, for example, I never really, I won't say I didn't care about it. Obviously, you know, she's my mom. I love my mom, but we didn't have that. I preferred to call my grandmother on Mother's Day and go sit with my grandmother and fucking watch her chain smoke 2 packs of cigarettes and drink her tea and fucking curse like a sailor. My grandmother was insane. So, like, when I think of Mother's Day, I think of Graham. I don't think of Ma. I think, you know, a quick call to Ma, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't really the type to like, let's go get lunch. She is kind of now, but back then she wasn't really interested in let's go get lunch or anything. So, but my grandmother, she was interested in, you know, let's go hit up a garage sale and go get some food and fucking. So I have more of that Mother's Day dynamic with her, and you know she's no longer here. But my wife, obviously, mother of my son, I get to celebrate Mother's Day with her. I really like May as a month now. My wife's birthday, Mother's Day, and our anniversary is all in May, so it kind of brings like the fun back to May, despite not having my grandmother here, who for Mother's Day specifically, like, that's who I look forward to the most. Anytime I would always try to do something around Mother's Day, you know, if I could like plan a tattoo or something, because she would always fucking tweak anytime I got one. I would get one and then go see her. And it was always like, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to like do shit like that that I don't really have anymore. So to have, you know, my wife and everything else in May, it's a lot of fun again. It sounded like my voice just cracked. I'm not crying. I don't do that. I hide my feelings like a man. I remember it's fucking weird. The morning my grandmother passed, I was literally going, I think I might have talked about this, and if I did, I apologize. But for new listeners, maybe they haven't heard it. I was literally going to New York City the day my grandmother passed. I did go to New York City the day my grandmother passed. And I talked to her the day before. I was going to do comedy. And literally the day before, because she worked on the railroad, she's talking about like, you know, oh, the Amtrak, I could probably get you a train and maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go. She actually really enjoyed going to those things, which is weird because I just kind of shit on her daughter the whole time. And her favorite jokes revolved around me shitting on her daughter. So I think maybe that's what it was. I remember one joke I used to tell was about how around Christmas time we always had real trees, despite not really coming from money, not having money. Definitely never went and cut down a fucking tree as a family. So it was always like, where these trees come from? And the first time I realized, I was probably like 8, and it was explained, or I kind of figured out that my mother and my aunt would fucking just speed up to Walmart, and the trees would be outside on display. They would just fucking chuck that shit in and go and just speed off. And I would talk about that. I would talk about my mom finding like a receipt on the ground, and it would have, I don't know, like 24 pack of Pepsi, something like that. And she would go in, or she would have one of us go in, and we would grab the fucking 24 pack off the shelf and use the receipt and return it and get a couple bucks. So like I would tell those stories, and my grandmother, despite me just like putting out these fucking family thievery fucking stories, those were the ones that she liked the most. So it was just cool to have that with her, where some people might be like, hey, maybe don't, can you not talk about that? Like, that's really embarrassing. My grandmother's like, tell it again. Fuck her. So the day before, I'm talking about, going to New York City, doing this show, yada, yada. And I'm literally talking to my grandmother about my wedding, which is coming up in a few months at the time. And she's talking about, oh, I'm going to get you guys the best gift and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure she would have 100%. I'm not saying like blah, blah, blah. Like, she fucking probably loved my wife as much as I did. So I'm sure she would have. But, and then at 5, it had to be around 5 in the morning, I got a phone call. I think my wife actually got the phone call. She answers and she's like, what? And then she gives it to me. And it's weird to process that, because I'm like, I just fucking talked to her yesterday. Like, the same thing that everybody says when somebody dies, right? Like, you always go to like the last time you talk to them, as if that changes anything. Like, oh, I just fucking talked to that person. Like, yeah, dude, I mean, they were alive at that point. But at 5 a.m., you don't really know what to do. So I kind of just went in the bathroom, cried pretty hard, and then just went about my day. We took, I think, a Greyhound bus to New York City, and I went and told jokes. And then the next day, I fucking hosted the open mic at Comedy Works, and I fucking bombed. New York City actually went really well. I think it was good to distract myself. We had a long bus ride, and then walked around the city and told jokes and everything else. So, but Comedy Works the next day, Tommy Nietzsche's like, or Tommy Nietzsche, I actually don't know how to fucking say Tommy's last name, but Tommy is like, hey, can you host tonight? And I'm like, yeah, it'll be a good distraction. I'll host. And I remember going, and I got the list. I'm looking at it, and I set it down at the bar, and I tell my fucking 5 minutes up front. And then I'm like, you guys ready for your comedian? And blanked, just went blank. I'm like, and you're on stage, and obviously it's mostly comics because it's an open mic, but there are still people, and they're all just staring at you, and you're just hoping for like a fucking hint of who's on, like who's up, and you're trying to remember. And then luckily it was Dan Guerin, who I should have known, because he always fucking tries to take like the first 3 spots so he can get in, do his job, and get out of there. And it was just weird, because after that, I'm just like drawing blanks on everything. Like, I can't even tell jokes at that point. I'm just kind of calling up the next person. All right, and that was blah blah blah. Next up, we have blah blah blah. And then I had to like, I was like, okay, fuck. So, because you don't want people to see that and remember you as that. You know what I mean? In comedy, especially, you don't want bookers, and when I say bookers, I mean small. Like, I booked shows for comedy. I did comedy at Magoo's. So when I say bookers, I don't mean anything like special, but just these local guys who do put on local spots, and they might be considering it. So that's when I had to like go on Facebook and be like, oh, these last 2 days were a good distraction. Grandmother passed away, and do like the sob story shit. But I never really, I don't know if I ever really mourned about anything, to be honest. That probably comes from that dynamic I talked about earlier with mom and dad, where I don't really confide, and you don't really talk much. Even my wife is like, oh, these solo episodes are kind of good because you don't really talk. I'm like, yeah, I guess I get that, but I'm forced to, right? If I want to put out content, and a podcast being the content where it all revolves around talking, I do have to just force myself to do it. You got to put a mic in front of you, and that's why I bounce around. I just went into that story. I don't really think about things. I just ramble and bounce, and some sticks, and obviously some of it's not great, but I'm really not a talker when it comes to the best ways to get me to talk are bullshitting. Like a PlayStation party, I won't shut the fuck up. Why? Because I'm just bullshitting. I'm not like a let's talk about feelings. Is everything okay? Because for the most part, everything is okay. Like I'm kind of a chill dude. Everything just kind of rolls off my back. I don't really dwell on much. And like try I've talked about this before. I don't want my son to have that necessarily. Unless it is like for me, it is truly how it is. Like I really don't have much. I don't dwell on much. I'm hoping that if he ever has something or he runs into something, like he knows like mom and dad will talk to him and you can talk to mom and dad about literally anything. And I try to every day, I'll be like, how was your day? What did you do? Like just little things like that. Cause I only got those if I was in trouble. That I definitely talked about. I skipped school and my mom, when she called me, that's when she asked me, like, oh, how was school? And it's like, mom never asked me how school was before. So she knows my ass hasn't been going ass whooping. That's just literally how I knew. So I don't want my son to think like, oh, my dad's asking me how school was. I must be in trouble. Like, no, dude, I want to know how the fuck school was. Like, that's literally just how it is. Are you in trouble? Did you do something? What the fuck? If you didn't, then you're not, you're not in trouble. But I didn't have that. So it's weird to talk about and try to like map out, especially like school in general is a tricky topic in this fucking house because I've talked about it with Lenny. I'm gonna just stop doing it. I fucking love to just reference like I've talked about, but I mean, if you want more information on it, go back and listen to those episodes. That's kind of more or less why I do it. But on Lenny's episode, we talked about my son having food allergies and everything. And it hits you harder when you realize like, oh, he is gonna go to this building where somebody else does have to take care of him, and like you do have to trust that fucking Susan isn't gonna pack fucking little Katie a goddamn peanut butter and fucking jelly sandwich, and she's gonna play Legos with my son, and then I gotta fucking get a phone call that he got a jab from his EpiPen, and I need to go to the fucking hospital. You know what I mean? So for all you fuckheads, it's mostly like these guys on Twitter was like, oh, I can't even bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to my kid. Yeah, you know why, asshole? Because my kid can't be around it. And if your kid has it because you're fucking a dickhead, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. You understand? You fucking moron. Like, it's not, you're not being oppressed because it's just have some fucking consideration, you prick. I fucking I've gotten in so many like not really arguments because I don't fucking know these people and I don't care, but just like having to explain to somebody like, hey, asshole, there's a reason for that. It's not just because we don't want your fucking kid having peanut butter. You know what I mean? I don't need little fucking Maria to eat a peanut butter sandwich and then grab the monkey bars. And then my fucking son goes to do it. And then he wipes his nose and all of a sudden his face is broken out because you couldn't fucking bear to give maybe a sun butter sandwich or something, you fucking lazy asshole. But like it is weird and it's scary because like those are thoughts that me and my wife have to have and like we have to talk about, and you fill out your paper and they're like, is there anything that we should do? And it's like, yeah, this. And you have to hope that that person follows that paper to a fucking T and they're not just ignorant and they're not just there for a check, which I'd like to assume that most people aren't when it comes to education and children and everything else. Because if that's the case, you're in the wrong business. I hate to break it to you, but you're going to be underpaid as shit, as most teachers are. So if you're just there for a check, there's other things you could do. Start an OnlyFans, honestly. You'll make more money. That's what my middle school teacher did. Spanish teacher, forget her name. Shout out to her. She used to just sit online and fucking do it every day. We'd go into Spanish and she'd be on her computer and she's always typing and everything else. And this was before OnlyFans. I don't know if she was on like MySpace or whatever. And then she got fired and we got Mr. I forget his name too, but he had to come in, and then a bunch of students had nude photos of our Spanish teacher, and then it made sense why she got fired. So shout out to her. She's probably making, she's probably like 60 now, but OnlyFans blowing up. She might be a 60-year-old on OnlyFans. Who the fuck knows? So if you're in it for money, go that route. Don't teach kids. You're gonna be underpaid. Oh, what the fuck am I even talking about right now? This is the only child thing that people are talking about with me because there's no reason I had to go into any of that at all. But is what it is, dude. Fucking back to my brothers, back to where we started with this whole thing. We're all this is a mess, but it's a fun mess. We're having fun. My youngest brother, I remember he probably had to be like 4 at the time, right? So I was around 10, Billy's around 7 or 8, and he had a rash, an inner thigh rash, which I don't know what the fuck he was doing to get an inner thigh rash so young. But he's like, "What do you guys use?" And fucking Billy told him, "Oh, we usually just put this on." It was fucking icy hot, and he slapped it on himself, dude. Instantly starts fucking screaming and running around. I was like, "Holy fuck, dude!" That's one of the funniest things you could do to a little fucking kid. It's so mean. It's so mean. Like having a fucking 3-year-old, I can't imagine doing like something that mean to a kid right now. But your younger brother, dude, I don't care what you say. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen is how fast he reacted. It was like the aftershave scene in Home Alone, you know, with the fucking slap of the face, the iconic fucking picture. It was like that type of reaction where I was like, fuck, dude, that's melted into my brain. So fuck. My mom was fucking pissed. And like, dude, when my mom got pissed, she she never was like a yeller, you know. She always don't make me call your father in here. That's what it was. That was her big threat, and it worked because I really didn't want to fucking deal with him either, you know. But I remember one day where my aunt's kitchen and my mom was in the bathroom, and I'm just pummeling on my brother, the one that's a couple years younger than me. We're I'm not really hitting him hard. I'm just kind of hitting him. We're just fucking around. My mom comes out. She goes, "Leave your fucking brother alone." She throws me against the door, the bathroom door that she was just in. She comes out, shuts the bathroom door, throws me against it, and she's punching me. And it doesn't really hurt. I'm laughing. And then she hit me like pretty good in the head. It was like the side of the head or the top of the head. She goes, "Fucking laughing, and you made me hit the wall." And she fucking hit me harder. And I was like, "That wasn't the fucking wall. You hit me." And she just stopped and starts laughing. She goes, "That was you." And it's like, dude, how fucking bipolar are you? She literally, I mean, she blasted me in the head and then got mad because she thought she hit the wall and absolutely not. She just blasted me in the head again and then laughs because she fucked up. And it's like, what are we doing here? That's the dynamic that we need to be talking about is why I laugh at literally everything. When I'm in pain, just try to laugh it off. Something's bothering me, make a joke, laugh it off. And like you know where you get that from when that's literally how mom fucking reacted in a matter of 10 seconds. I remember I think I was in like in school suspension for something, probably like either threatening a fight or starting one or throwing paper at something, just stupid shit. And I started laughing, and the dude's like, "You know, that's what you have. You have a nervous laugh. You don't really think this is funny. You just don't know how to process it. So you have a nervous laugh." And that always stuck with me because he might be right. I fucking I'll laugh at the worst things. I'll funeral laugh, wake laugh, car accident laugh. I mean, not at you. If you're in a car accident, I'm not gonna laugh at you. But if I'm just in a situation that's shitty for me, I'm gonna try to just giggle and laugh my way out. And it is what it is, dude. Don't invite me to a funeral if you don't want laughs because I can't sit there quietly and just watch everybody cry and not crack a joke or two because otherwise I'm going to be uncomfortable as shit. Like my grandmother died. I invited a couple buddies up to her wake and just busted balls in the corner, just made them laugh as hard as they could. And like, that's just what it is. I don't want to be alone at a wake with a bunch of people crying and watching my mom fucking cry next to her mom. And it's like, I'm not doing that, dude. We're not. Nope. Nope. I'm going to try to make you laugh. Fucking, I was at Jake Taylor. His grandmother died. And I'm really close to that family. So, of course, I went and, you know, I was there for Jake and mostly I was there for Mel. His grandmother passed. And it's like first thing in the morning of the funeral. So the morning of like the burial and everything. And Dude, I'd never met these dudes. They could have been Mel's friends. They could have been Jake's like part of the family that I don't really know. And they're sitting a row behind from me. And I sit down and the guy looks over at the girl who just walked in. He goes, "Morning." And I just turn around straight face and I go, "We all are." And just like that, dude. Like I literally I didn't know what to do. I was one of the first people there. I was surrounded by like a couple people that I knew, most of the people I didn't. And I just turned around and I look back at him and I go, "We all are." And it's like, what do you want me to do, Jake? I had to tell him. I was like, yeah, I cracked this joke to this guy. I hope he didn't take offense to it. He didn't really say anything to me. He kind of just like went about his business talking to whatever grieving woman was next to him. And then after that, me, Casey, Jake, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we all go back and we go to Jake's house and turn up music and we're dancing and fucking around, blaring music on the way to the burial. It's just trying to do whatever we can to make it fun because nobody wants to sit there depressed. Nobody wants to sit there and think about what this actually is. Nobody wants to do any of that shit. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with any of this. I think it all comes back to mom and grandma and the people who raised you, obviously the people who mold you, the people who shape you. And that's why I consider this a Mother's Day episode, even though I'm not really talking about Mother's Day. And I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on my mom because I'm definitely not. I probably am, but I'm not trying to. She did what she had to do. She did her best, and it is what it is. And I'm thankful, I guess, for like the attempt. There's parents who don't even try. My goal, she taught me lessons too. Like for me, I always knew a lot about our finances. Granted, I was a nosy little fuck, but I always knew a lot about like situations we were in, and I can kind of gauge the situations we were in. Like if she was stressed, I could tell. It's not like she was hiding it. So for like me, one of my like big goals with my son is like I don't ever want him to know if there's going to be a struggle, which I mean there really hasn't been yet. But like if we are struggling, if we are stressed, whatever, the goal isn't to rope him in, which I feel like back in like 90s, early 2000s, and probably before that, I'm just speaking for my time, like I feel like kids were kind of roped in. There wasn't much of a distraction. You were kind of in your house or on your bike. So I feel like you were really engaged in things that are going on. And like for me, with my son, if he, for example, like if he just wants a toy and he sees a toy on a commercial or something, I never say like, "Oh, we can't get that, buddy. We're not gonna be able to get that." Or if we're at a store, it's like, "Oh, we're not gonna be able to get that." Even if I don't have it on me at that moment, maybe I don't have the money on me or my card on me, whatever it is. And there's always like, "Yeah, buddy, we'll get that. It might not be today, but we'll get that, and we'll get it." And he's not, "Oh, he's spoiled." It's just like, no, I didn't drop everything I was doing to go get the fucking kid that toy that day, but he's expressing that he wants something. And my whole thing is like, why not try to give him what he wants? Like, I feel like that was always a negative thing with parents. Like, why are you avoiding, oh, don't spoil your kid? Like, I'm not spoiling him, but if there's no logical reason aside from don't spoil your kid to not get him something, then I'm gonna just fucking get the kid the toy or the game or he's into like board games right now. I fucking last Saturday rather, I was sitting around and my wife was like, "Oh, I really want strawberry lemonade." So I fucking picked up like stuff for strawberry lemonade, grabbed him a board game, and it was like, "Oh, thanks." Like just little shit like that didn't break my fucking bank. I wasn't like, "Oh, now I'm stressed," or "Oh, I feel like I just spoiled everybody at this house." Like it was just like there's no logical reason to not do that little fucking thing. So why and growing up, maybe there was that logical reason. Maybe they just really, and that's what I mean. I know for a fact they just really didn't have it. I could tell by the things that we had or the means that we took to get things that like we really didn't have it. So a buddy of mine says it all the time. He's like, "Oh, you really spoil your son." And he doesn't say it in a bad way, but like he's like, "You really spoil your son." And it's like, no, motherfucker, like I know what that feeling is to and not ask for a thing because you know it's not going to happen. So why get disappointed? Or I know that feeling where it's like you want something and they say no, and you know it's not because they don't want to, it's because like physically they just can't do it. And so why would I try to keep that pattern going? You know what I mean? Why not try to just give back a little bit to kind of counteract like that feeling that I have as a kid? Why not do that? There's no logical reason to not do it. So, Theo, I'm glad you're not in here, and I'm glad even if you were, you wouldn't really understand what I'm talking about because your ass could rob me blind, motherfucker. Like, me and your mother will get robbed by you, dude. And it's a good thing. I don't see an issue with that. He's not going to be like one of those fucking uppity kids because of it. You raise that. That's something that you raise. I'm not raising that. In fact, I think I'm kind of raising a sarcastic like little me, which is insane. Um I do like little things to irritate my wife all the time. Not like actually, just like sing certain songs. There's like, and my son catches on that she's like, stop. And then he's like, oh, that's funny. Dad's laughing. I'm going to pile on it. It's like, all right, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't do that too much. It's fun. It's fun for me and it's fun for her, but I don't want him to hear stop and like be like, oh, I'm getting a reaction. So, but there's a line. There's always a line. You can draw that line with kids. Kids aren't dumb. People like to think kids are dumb. Kids really aren't dumb. You give a kid a tablet, he figures it out pretty quick. He or she figures it out pretty fucking quick. They're not these dumb like animals. They're humans. You're molding a human. So you explain to them when it's right, when it's wrong, when this joke, if somebody says stop, you need to actually stop. And they listen to that. They you talk to a kid like a kid, or like a fucking idiot, rather, not a kid. Talk to a kid like a fucking moron. That's when they're like, not really, they're not gonna get it because you're not. I never was big on like baby talk. I'll do a little bit of a voice with my son and everything. Obviously, he's a kid, or when he was a real baby, especially. But like, you can't do that all the time. You got to talk to these fucking kids. You got to talk to them like people, and that's how you raise decent fucking people. Problem is, a lot of people don't want to do that, and then they want to just say shit like kids these days. It's like, go fuck yourself. It's parents these days, you lazy prick. Stop throwing the fucking tablet in front of your kid with a box of cookies, and then you go and fuck off and do whatever and just be a parent. And that's something that my wife and I talked about, even with me and her, just like trying to be more hands on and better. And you live and you grow through it. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just rambling. It's just how I feel. Even it probably sounds like, what do you do all day? Because I'm like, oh, follow the stream and then listen to the podcast and I'm booking guests. And it's like, no, I really do this for like, if it's solo, especially 45 minutes at the most with a guest, a little over an hour. And I stream at night when my son's in bed. So like, if you do want to do something, you don't want to feel like, and I don't feel like this, but if you are somebody who feels like, you're going to put your hobbies or whatever you're doing aside, like there's always a way to do what you want and still be an active and good parent. And that just comes down to laziness. And that's something. So our minutes with Mello for this month, I'll just tease it since we're on the topic. We're actually going to be talking a lot about laziness, and not physical laziness, like laziness in like a craft or like something that you're supposedly really into, but the work isn't there and it doesn't show that you're into it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably going to check out of here. This was fun for me personally. It's always fun to just like talk about like the upbringing a little bit. I know I didn't get too much into it. I called it a Mother's Day episode and then really talk about my mom. Like I said, I associate Mother's Day most with my grandmother and now my wife. So, Ma, if you do listen to this, I probably sound like an asshole. I'm not trying to, but you know for a fact everything I said was true. So get off me, B. You can't stop me. You can't stop. You can't silence me, dude. First Amendment, Ma. You can't silence me, dude. And to my brothers, I'll always be funnier than you, and you know it. I know it. That game that we used to play proved it. So, Harry Perry cucumber nipple, you feel me? And that's something that only you two will understand. But ChewinTheRag.com, check it out. Like, follow, rate, subscribe. All the links are right in there. Let's up the Spotify numbers. YouTube numbers are going pretty steady. Let's up Spotify here. The TikTok, Chewin the Rag Podcast on TikTok or Chewin the Rag Pod. I should probably get that right before fucking saying it. You know what I mean? No, I was right. Chewin the Rag Podcast, no G, Chewin as always. And if you have any suggestions, want some stickers, I got a bunch of stickers still. If you have suggestions, you want stickers, I'll show you in the camera here. If you're on YouTube, bang right there. Just that golden black, baby, that real classy look. Send me an email. I don't know. This is the second time this episode I fucked up on the email. ChewinTheRagPodcast@gmail.com. Send questions over there for Minutes with Mello, especially. We have a lot of fun doing that, but I'll answer solo questions, or if I have a guest, I'll still answer those questions. I'll just bring them, make them a part of it. Or if it's something you only want me to answer, I'll answer solo. It doesn't matter to me. ChewinTheRagPodcast@gmail.com. Send any suggestions if you want some stickers, questions you might have, anything at all. Send it over there. And this is a lot of fun for me. I addressed it earlier. I don't talk much, so this little hour an episode, I have fun doing it, and I hope you guys are having fun. The numbers show that everybody's still here and everybody's having fun. Let's not keep it steady though. Let's keep it going. Share this thing if you like it. If you don't like it, I don't know why you're this far, because we're at the end of the episode, so go fuck yourself. Deuces.